How do you deal with that as a family?
Well, we don't, in many respects, need to deal with it.
So Prince William has apparently gone full administrative war mode behind palace doors. And the reason why is a confrontation that nobody saw coming, but everyone's now dissecting. The whole thing kicked off at a routine agricultural showcase at the Royal Horticultural Hall, which sounds like the absolute last place on earth for an institutional crisis to explode. But that's honestly where it gets chilling. Because what was supposed to be a standard Tuesday engagement with Princess Anne going down the line of dignitaries turned into an open public breach of protocol that the monarchy spends millions trying to prevent. And the fact that an uninvited guest walked right through security with a freelance photographer perfectly positioned in the back to catch every single second on camera is the first thing that should make you go, wait, what is actually happening here? Before we dive into the leaked paper trail and the $100,000 wire transfer behind it, all make sure you hit subscribe to our channel so you don't miss a single update on this unraveling file. The dark blue Bentley State limousine cut silently through the London drizzle, pulling up precisely in front of the western entrance of the Royal Horticultural Halls in the Borough of Westminster. The dashboard clock marked exactly 14:15. The official schedule for Princess Anne the Princess Royal had been established and vetted down to the second by the private secretary's office. This annual engagement, designed to champion rural development initiatives and support local agricultural enterprises, represented a standard public duty one that the Princess Royal had diligently discharged for over 50 years without a single delay or public scandal. Stepping out in a tailored navy blue blazer, adorned with a solid gold brooch bearing her royal regimental insignia, Princess Anne entered the main hall. Initial proceedings adhered strictly to protocol. The head of the organizing committee received her at the red carpet. The dignitary guest list was vetted by close protection officers, and camera positions for national media outlets were rigorously restricted to designated press pens. The atmosphere was orderly, professional, and entirely under the control of the Master of the Household's department. However, at 14:32, as Princess Anne paused before an agricultural display representing the southern counties, a severe administrative breach occurred. Laura Lopes, daughter of Queen Camilla, abruptly entered through the hall's eastern side door. Her appearance instantly triggered a series of protocol anomalies. According to the court circular published that morning, Laura Lopes was neither listed on the official guest roster nor part of the public delegation and had not been issued clearance credentials for the restricted zone designated for working royals. Moving through the gathered dignitaries with calculated resolve, Laura bypassed standard protocol, which dictated waiting in the designated observer area, and advanced to within less than 2 meters of Princess Anne. Dispensing with the customary curtsy and without seeking permission from protocol officers, Laura spoke in a sharp, carrying, and blatantly confrontational tone. Her remarks addressed recent regulatory adjustments governing estate trust audits and operational budget cuts for auxiliary offices, framing these measures as deliberate oppression targeted at her family's interests. An absolute silence instantly fell over the exhibition hall. Delegates, event staff, and protection officers froze. For the first 3 seconds, Princess Anne did not turn around. Maintaining an erect posture, she deliberately adjusted her black leather gloves, her expression betraying no emotional reaction or subtle shift in demeanor. This composure was neither confusion nor surprise. It was the instinctive reflex of the institution's most seasoned royal one, who understood that in breaches of protocol, emotional composure remains the ultimate line of defense. As Princess Anne slowly turned around, she offered no direct counter to the financial allegations, nor did she provide any explanation regarding the auditing procedures. Instead, fixing her gaze on an SO-14 specialist protection officer standing 2 paces away, she delivered a cold, detached inquiry. Has security reverified the approved guest list for this afternoon's session? It was an absolute institutional dismissal. Rather than condescending to enter a public personal dispute, Princess Anne dismantled the very legitimacy of Laura Lopes's presence in the room. This refutation carried far greater legal weight than any heated argument, effectively reducing the opposing party to an unauthorized intruder breaching event security. Sensing her initial assault neutralized by procedural barriers, Laura Lopes took a step forward, openly accusing Princess Anne of hiding behind protocol to to orchestrate a financial audit targeting Camilla's familial network while alleging the existence of illicit covert meetings between the Princess Royal and the Prince of Wales. At that exact moment, shutter clicks erupted from a freelance photographer stationed at an elevated angle behind the exhibit. The rhythmic sharp bursts of the camera shutter cut through the sound of rain beating against the hall's glass roof. The vantage point was suspiciously optimal. The frame captured Laura's agitated expression, alongside the unyielding, resolute back of Princess Anne, set against the backdrop of the royal insignia on the event banner. Refusing to allow the situation to persist for more than 2 minutes, Princess Anne issued a subtle hand gesture. SO-14 protection officers intervened immediately, escorting Laura Lopes and informing her in a formal yet non-negotiable tone that her presence no longer complied with the event's security protocol, instructing her to vacate the hall to the outer foyer without delay. Laura was compelled to exit under security escort in full view of dozens of journalists. While the charity engagement at the Royal Horticultural Hall officially concluded on schedule, a major institutional crisis had officially erupted. As the Bentley glided down Birdcage Walk toward Buckingham Palace, a heavy silence dominated the cabin. Princess Anne leaned back into the leather, seating her gaze behind her glasses fixed straight ahead. She neither checked her personal phone nor conferred with her private secretary, who sat tensely in the front passenger seat. Operating with the analytical rigor of someone who had navigated 5 decades of royal upheavals, Princess Anne began deconstructing the incident through a security and constitutional lens. An unlisted individual on the court circular could not simply breach 3 perimeter security checkpoints managed by SO-14 at an engagement featuring a senior royal. The precise positioning of the freelance photographer, coupled with the presence of 3 royal correspondents close to Camilla's circle lingering at the edge of the crowd, provided undeniable proof this was a calculated media operation designed to project a narrative of persecution, thereby marshalling public pressure against the ongoing financial audit. The crux of the matter lay not in Laura Lopes's personal outburst, but in the compromised intelligence. The internal forensic audit into the estate's assets and trust funds was a highly classified file. Only 4 individuals held access when the audit mandate was issued. Laura's exact knowledge of specific budgetary adjustments indicated a catastrophic intelligence leak originating within the administrative apparatus of Buckingham Palace. Princess Anne picked up her encrypted phone connecting directly to the head of internal security. "I require an immediate audit log of all email records, security access badge logs, and telecommunication traffic related to the estate audit file over the past 72 hours. Begin with the administrative accounts within the King's private secretary's office." Upon receiving preliminary briefs regarding the security breach at the Royal Horticultural Hall, Prince Edward, Earl of Wessex, and Forfar immediately activated an independent financial investigation and forensic audit. Acting as an impartial arbiter of royal trusts and assets, with no personal claim or inheritance rights to the Highgrove estate, which remains under the sole legal entitlement of the Prince of Wales, Edward conducted the inquiry with clinical objectivity and meticulous precision. Convening with an independent panel of forensic accountants, seconded from an international auditing firm inside the secure archives of the Royal Household Finance Committee, Edward systematically examined bank statements, vendor contracts, and transaction ledgers pertaining to the Royal Horticultural Hall event. Every minute item from equipment leasing fees and auxiliary security allocations to press credential logs was subjected to intense legal scrutiny. By 22:40 that evening, the forensic auditing team uncovered the initial administrative breach within the accounts managed by the regional executive director, a senior official named Colin. Data retrieved from the Treasury Financial Management System revealed that exactly 3 weeks prior to the event, a sum of $100,000 had been transferred into Colin's personal account at a private bank in London. The funds originated from neither public authorities, charitable trusts, nor legitimate royal accounts. Instead, forensic tracing linked the payment through 3 intermediary layers back to a shell corporation named Velox Management SA, registered in the Grand Duchy of Luxembourg. The comprehensive audit report commissioned by Prince Edward further exposed the transaction's true nature. Velox Management SA had been incorporated by financial attorneys linked directly to private trusts managed by members of Camilla's family. The 100,000 sum was an administrative bribe disguised as an event risk management advisory contract. In exchange, Colin utilized his executive authority to commit 2 grave regulatory infractions, issuing official credentials and security bypass codes to Laura Lopes for the restricted area at the Royal Horticultural Hall without logging the authorization through SO14 or the Lord Chamberlain's office, disclosing precise floor plans, minute-by-minute movement schedules, and the fixed positioning of Princess Anne to an independent media unit retained to engineer favorable camera angles. Prince Edward closed the 200-page audit dossier, appended with bank statements authenticated by the Financial Conduct Authority (FCA). The report concluded in unyielding legal terminology. This was not merely a breach of employment discipline or administrative negligence, but an organized financial fraud directly threatening the security of a senior royal engineer to manufacture a public scandal and manipulate public perception regarding the governance of the Sovereign Grant Act. The exposure demonstrated that the institutional liability had escalated beyond a domestic dispute. Employing offshore funds from Luxembourg to compromise official royal operations posed a direct threat to the financial integrity, public trust, and constitutional standing of the Crown. The Luxembourg dossier stood as incontrovertible evidence, setting the stage for an absolute institutional strike. At 18:05 that evening, inside a windowless briefing room on the ground floor of St. James's Palace, the customary site for high-level institutional crisis management, the Prince of Wales convened an emergency session. William stood before a massive display screen, flanked by 5 senior legal counsel and the Director of Royal Security. Raw footage recovered from the freelance photographer at the Royal Horticultural Hall was projected across the wall, the mechanical clicks of the camera shutter echoing sharply through the claustrophobic room. William observed the video in utter silence until the final frame played out. Terminating the projection with a single click, he turned to the Director of Security and posed a single question in an icy tone. Why was an individual excluded from the official protocol list, issued an authentication code to enter a restricted area? The Director of Security began offering explanations regarding localized coordination protocols, but William raised a hand to cut him off. Dismissing bureaucratic pretexts, he demanded the precise identity of the official who had authorized the security waiver at the Eastern Gate. System logs provided immediate verification. The emergency override had been issued by the Regional Executive Director Colin. Further examination of organizational hierarchies uncovered an additional link: a mid-level manager within the Lord Chamberlain's office, who directly oversaw press credentials, was married to a personal assistant within Camilla's private office. Recognizing the scope of the internal breach, William rejected any internal compromise or back-channel settlement. Exercising supreme administrative authority, formally delegated by King Charles, the Prince of Wales, issued immediate disciplinary decrees within 30 minutes. Immediate summary dismissal, without severance, of the mid-level manager in the Lord Chamberlain's office for gross breach of non-disclosure agreements and institutional security. Stripping of all executive titles and suspension of Regional Director Colin, accompanied by the immediate revocation of security passes and system access credentials. Reclassification of all auxiliary office spaces utilized by Camilla's non-royal family as Category 1 restricted administrative zones, requiring written authorization from the Office of the Prince of Wales for any movement of documents, assets, or personnel. Withdrawal of state-funded protection details for non-lineage members of Camilla's family, pursuant to strict enforcement of the Police Act 2002. The following morning at her private estate in rural Wiltshire, the atmosphere inside Laura Lopes's residence was fraught with tension. Half-packed cardboard boxes cluttered the main hallway, the direct consequence of the Prince of Wales's eviction mandate governing auxiliary office spaces, which had taken effect at midnight. Seated before her computer screen, Laura monitored the media coverage. Her initial strategy to cultivate public sympathy as a victim of institutional bias had utterly collapsed. Rather than echoing her claims, news outlets shifted focus to severe legal inquiries. Why had an individual without official capacity breached a formal royal engagement, Who authorized the clearance?
At precisely 1900, Laura received a notification from her private bank. All wire transfers exceeding $5,000 were suspended, pending anti-money laundering compliance checks, a direct result of the Royal Audit Department issuing a high-risk institutional advisory to national financial intelligence networks. Concurrently, a courier delivered a classified package from the Chief Legal Counsel representing Queen Camilla. It contained neither a public relations strategy nor personal reassurances, but a formal legal injunction serving as an ultimate warning. You are instructed to maintain complete public silence regarding all media inquiries. Cease all unilateral interference or public commentary concerning the estate trust audit.
Any further unauthorized actions will result in the immediate and permanent termination of legal representation by Royal Household Counsel, triggering complete financial severance. The document laid bare a stark institutional reality. Queen Camilla, grandmother to Lola, faced with an existential threat to her own constitutional standing, was compelled to capitulate entirely. She was neither positioned nor permitted to shield her non-royal offspring from the statutory mechanisms unleashed by the Prince of Wales. Laura's family found themselves entirely isolated, stripped of office privileges, deprived of police protection, facing account freezes, and exposed to potential criminal prosecution. The institutional vice had closed, leaving the opposing faction powerless against the rule of law. The clock tower at St. James's Palace chimed 01:30. Inside the Prince of Wales's office, ambient amber light spilled across a mahogany desk covered with classified files, Crown Estate asset surveys, and chronological administrative drafts.
At the center lay the original 1996 Royal Asset Restructuring Agreement, a landmark constitutional framework enacted under Queen Elizabeth II to redefine financial governance and delineate public versus private royal assets, following the institutional challenges of the 1990s. Prince Edward stood beside a bookcase containing historical archives, examining an extract of estate management regulations. Operating as an independent investigator, with no claim to the Highgrove estate, which remains the sole legal prerogative of the Prince of Wales under constitutional precedent, Edward maintained absolute technical focus. He pointed to a highlighted section on page 48 of the 1996 agreement. It was Clause 14b, a dormant subclause, drafted by constitutional attorneys to safeguard the Crown against external financial infiltration. Clause 14b stipulated in unequivocal legal terms any individual outside the direct line of succession, determined by official audit to have interfered with, profited from, or exposed the Crown estate or the sovereign grant to institutional liability, shall automatically forfeit all administrative access, auxiliary trust entitlements, and tenancy rights to Crown-owned real estate.
Seated across the table, 10-year-old Princess Charlotte sat quietly in a high-backed leather chair. Dressed in her school uniform with a dark navy sweater, Charlotte observed her father and Prince Edward. At age 10, the young
Princess viewed the monarchy beyond ceremonial pageantry, acquiring a mature comprehension of power dynamics, institutional protocols, and the sacrifices required to preserve Crown legitimacy.
William turned to his daughter with absolute seriousness. He had refrained from asking Charlotte to leave as council debated severe sanctions, intending for her to grasp that the survival of the monarchy relied not on emotional indulgence, but on the unyielding enforcement of the law.
Underlining the text of Clause 14b in blue ink, William addressed Charlotte in a calm, measured voice. Public privilege is merely the surface. The foundation that sustains the throne across centuries is the absolute legality of the rules we are bound to uphold and enforce.
Clause 14b provided the decisive legal mechanism. It rendered Laura Lopes's actions ranging from receiving offshore funds via Luxembourg to breaching security at the Royal Horticultural Hall grounds for the automatic permanent revocation of all administrative privileges, bypassing protracted civil litigation. At 10:00 hours the following morning, the Kensington Palace Press Centre opened its doors. However, the assembly differed fundamentally from standard royal briefings. The accredited press list excluded tabloid columnists and sensationalist correspondents.
In attendance were senior investigative editors specializing in legal affairs, corporate finance, and constitutional law from reputable national broadsheets. Placed at each desk was a 30-page gray-bound report titled Forensic Audit Report on Governance Breaches and Security Risks at the 2026 exhibition. The Prince of Wales took the lectern. Dispensing with teleprompters and conciliatory statements, William projected the cold, authoritative stance of a supreme institutional chief executive. He opened the briefing by projecting capital flow diagrams authenticated by financial regulators and Luxembourg audit authorities. The evidence was presented with total transparency: the 100,000 transfer from Velox Management S.A. Colin's personal banking records and the illicit security bypass logs for Laura Lopes. Addressing the media cameras in a measured tone devoid of emotional rhetoric, William stated, "The recent event at the Royal Horticultural Hall was neither a personal dispute nor a domestic scandal. Forensic audit evidence confirms a grave breach of institutional security, facilitated by cross-border financial fraud intended to subvert the Crown's independent auditing procedures." The Prince of Wales then announced 3 immediate administrative rulings. Referral of the complete investigative dossier regarding Colin and Velox Management S.A. to the Serious Fraud Office, SFO, and the Metropolitan Police for formal criminal investigation into bribery and security breaches. Permanent revocation of access privileges, official titles, and security passes for Laura Lopes and associated individuals across all Crown properties. Freezing of auxiliary operational budgets and termination of advisory contracts linked to Camilla's non-royal family under Clause 14B of the 1996 Asset Agreement. This public exposure fundamentally reframed the public narrative. By releasing financial evidence and referring the case to law enforcement, the Prince of Wales eliminated any attempt by the opposition to claim victimhood. What began as a domestic scandal was redefined as a major financial fraud exposed by institutional transparency. On Monday morning, solemnity pervaded the Privy Council Chamber at Buckingham Palace. Morning light filtered through high windows onto the mahogany table, where historic state decisions were traditionally finalized. Seated at opposite ends of the table were King Charles and the Prince of Wales. Between them lay 2 documents: the conclusive investigative report from the Serious Fraud Office, accompanied by Privy Council certifications, and the draft Royal Prerogative Edict prepared by the Office of the Prince of Wales. King Charles reviewed the report page by page. Audit figures, Luxembourg transaction logs, and Colin's verified signature left no room for compromise or diplomatic conciliation. Shielding Camilla's family would undermine the Crown's legitimacy, breach the Sovereign Grant Act, and ignite a severe constitutional crisis. The king looked up at his son. Standing erect, the Prince of Wales maintained an unyielding expression representing generational continuity and institutional preservation. William offered no emotional pleas. He allowed the sheer weight of legal evidence and constitutional necessity to speak for itself. Taking a Montblanc pen, King Charles deliberately affixed his signature to the Royal Prerogative Edict. Upon signature, the keeper of the Privy Seal applied the red wax seal. The sharp strike of the seal echoed through the silent chamber. The edict enacted the following permanent royal decrees: permanent forfeiture of all official titles, representational rights security clearances, and royal facility access for Laura Lopes and Camilla's non-royal family members, freezing of auxiliary trust accounts, and complete revocation of state-funded police protection under the Police Act 2002. Permanent prohibition against any interference by Camilla's family in Crown asset management budgetary audits or royal personnel decisions. That afternoon, an equerry from the private secretary's office delivered an official copy of the Royal Prerogative Edict to Queen Camilla's private residence. Queen Camilla received the decree in silence. Facing the evidence compiled by the Serious Fraud Office and the edict signed by the King, Camilla recognized that resistance or media retaliation would expose her children to criminal prosecution in open court. She signed the formal acknowledgement without statement, appeal, or legal challenge. Her complete retreat was executed through administrative silence. By 17 Survival enforcement measures were fully executed across all departments. All auxiliary offices utilized by Laura Lopes' family on royal properties were sealed. SO14 protection details were officially withdrawn from private residences of Camilla's non-royal relatives.
The Serious Fraud Office issued criminal indictments against Colin and served asset freezing orders on Velox Management SA in Luxembourg. There were no sensational arguments, public outbursts, or melodramatic press exchanges. The reckoning for breaching institutional integrity was executed with cold quiet and relentless precision, enforced by the power of legal instruments, forensic audits, and constitutional prerogatives.
At Kensington Palace, the Prince of Wales stood by the window looking out over the quiet grounds at dusk. Behind him, Princess Charlotte carefully returned the asset governance files to the secure archive. A new institutional order behind the palace walls was established, resolute, transparent, and bound by the rule of law. Has Prince William permanently safeguarded the Crown's legitimacy through cold legal enforcement, or has he merely forced a dangerous adversary into the next covert maneuver? The case file is now sealed, but behind palace walls, the quietest room is often where the next battle begins. In a sea of videos, I am so glad YouTube managed to bring this one to you. We pour a tremendous amount of care into researching every single detail of these royal histories. I know using a TV remote takes a little extra time, but your like and subscription are the ultimate motivation for our team to keep creating careful, high-quality stories for your screen. Thank you so much for your support.